We're in Alfred A. Ring Park in Gainesville, Florida this afternoon. Bob is working his way back to where I am. And this park is a little hidden gem in Gainesville. It's not well known by people outside of the community, but it's a gorgeous little wooded place with streams that you can play in, and kids can explore the park, and we're exploring this afternoon. Bob and I want to share with you some of the things we learned along the way while we were camping throughout the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and around the country.
Yeah, and we've got a list of things that we just briefly wanted to go over with you so you can learn from some of the things that we've learned on our trip. And the first thing that we encountered when we headed north toward Michigan was that the Blue Ridge Parkway is very remote as far as traveling. And you may not get any cell signal, because remember when you tried to use your phone?
Yes.
She couldn't pick up signal in lots of different areas of the Blue Ridge Parkway. So be careful about that. Now, we also brought with us a Garmin RV 660 LMT 6-inch navigator, which is a GPS from Garmin. It's a great GPS, but we found that when one of the features of the GPS is you use it to find campgrounds, and we located a campground that was near us, and we clicked on it hoping that it would take us right to the campground, but it didn't. It put us on a 30-mile circle that we completed. It ended up where we started. We never did find the campground. So when you're using the GPS, at least this particular model where it has the preloaded campgrounds, just don't select the campground, because it may not be the correct address for that campground. It's probably best to call them and get their actual address, or go online if you have cell signal. Go online and actually get the address and put it manually into that GPS. Other than that, the GPS worked out really well, because many times we didn't have cell signal, and that's why we bought an alternate GPS system like Garmin to use with us. The other thing that we found was that you have to actually call, especially restaurants and things, because things that are preloaded into the GPS may have closed, and they're not really available at all.
The other thing that I might note too, Bob, is that even restaurants that you find on Google may have closed, and it's not noted on the internet. So that's why calling ahead is very, very useful.
I think it's good to verify everything that you're doing before you start traveling and spending money on gas to get there, and your time as well. Because that way you know they're open, you know what their hours are, and you can also get the address, which is really handy. Another thing that we found was the campgrounds. And why don't you talk about the difference between the state campgrounds and the national park campgrounds?
Well, I was pretty excited about trying the national campgrounds because I'd never stayed at one, but I've stayed at lots of state parks. But it was sort of a disappointing experience because most of the facilities are older, much more outdated. The bathrooms are not as nice, but states obviously spend much more money keeping up their campgrounds, and lots of them are very, very newly completed, renovated facilities. So I would say if you want to have a nicer experience, plan your stay around state campgrounds.
Yeah, definitely. And of course the regular campgrounds, some of them are nice and some of them are not so nice. So at least as far as comparing the two, that we had tried both national and the state, and you like the state campgrounds much better.
Yes, they're a little more expensive. You can get national campgrounds for a lot cheaper, some as low as, I think one night we spent $12 or $13 for the night, but I'd rather pay a little bit more and have a nicer experience.
Yeah, they were nice campgrounds. The other thing that we came across is one of the campgrounds didn't have 110 service, so you could plug your regular AC stuff into your box at the campground. They actually had 220, and so I ended up having to go to Walmart, and I think it was just for a few dollars. You can get a converter. It takes the 220 service, and you just plug it in as an adapter, and you would get 110 service out of the 220 service. Unfortunately, I didn't really need it after I bought it, because all the other places we went to did have the 110 service, but occasionally some of these old campgrounds do have 220 service only, so you need that converter. So I highly recommend it, having that in your camping gear. The other thing is that, you might want to expand on this, is that when we started this trip, didn't have a destination in mind, and when we were trying to use the GPS, we found it difficult to actually figure out where we wanted to go next, because if you don't have an address, the GPS isn't all that helpful. Why don't you expand on that? 'Cause
Well,
you felt that was kind of a deficit.
yeah, we actually started out planning this as a trip to nowhere, but it sounded really adventurous. But
it was.
and it was, and we spent at least I think 1 or 2 nights on the road stealth camping, and it wasn't really by design, but we were well equipped to do so. But really, it's always best to have a destination. I'd say even if you decide on something different, have a realistic destination in mind in terms of mileage in which you can obtain within the time frame that you estimate, because it's much safer and just a better experience.
Yeah, that's basically all the things that we did learn on this trip. Everything went really smooth. Everything that we had inside the Element worked well. We didn't have any problems at all with anything. We had everything we needed. My packing list was quite substantial, and we basically didn't have to get anything on the road except for that 110 converter.
Yeah, Bob did a lot of wonderful planning. I don't take any real credit for that, because he's had more camping experience than I have, and I have to say that all of his planning really paid off for us, and we had just a fabulous time, and we're ready to do it again as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I just want to end in just mentioning to you about our trip to Michigan. It was quite wonderful. The driving was beautiful, and a lot of the ways we had gone on different roads. We spent some times on the highway, but a lot on country roads, and Michigan was a great state. If you have an opportunity to go to Michigan, definitely go. They have a lot to offer, and we only saw a small portion of what they have. So we have no problem going back there again to see even more.
Absolutely.
That was good.
There's one other thing I'd say, and that is that we wanted to see the Blue Ridge Parkway, but one of the things that we learned about that experience is that it's extremely remote. Cell phones didn't work, and because I do some part-time consulting, I really needed to have access to the internet through my jetpack. And so in planning your trip, always be conscious of whether or not the area might be too remote to accommodate the experience that you're looking for.
Yeah. So again, come along with us on our travels. We'll be going to new destinations in the upcoming days, and we'll keep you informed. So stay with us, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and we look forward to you coming and join with us. So I'm going to take the trek back up to the camera to shut it off.
Have a great day.
Hope we see you. Oops, it is slippery on this sand. Have a good day.